Alright, here we'll be grinding all the areas that we'll be welding to, just cleaning up the spot welds. And also, you'll see me start cleaning up some of the rust on the inner structures and getting it ready for the install. I always like to use some rust converter on the inner structures just to kill some of the old rust once it's ground down. When using cutoff disc on your electric grinder, always make sure you have the little bevel edge flipped up so it actually grips tight on the cutting disc. If you do it the other way, it'll just spin on the shaft. Here I'm fitting the new rocker panel to the truck. I use a pick just to scribe a line in the old paint and on the metal, as you'll see here. Once we get our line scribed, you see I take the air cutoff wheel and start trimming out for the new rocker panel. You want to make sure you take your time doing this. It may take more than once cutting, grinding, just to get everything to fit together perfectly. Here, I just take the cutoff wheel to scribe a line right against the top of the new rocker panel. And then once I get it scrubbed, I pull it off and of course cut it. I check for fitment on the bottom of the door, just to make sure we got it level where we want it with the door. And I start the process on the front cut of the front of the rocker panel. Here we have one more spot weld to take care of. There I'm just showing you that I'm far enough ahead of the rust. You don't need to go clear up to the bottom of the door hinge. It wasn't rusted that far up, so we just kind of cut where I didn't have to pull the door off of this particular vehicle. Here I'm just going over everything, cleaning up all the rough edges, getting everything ready for the new spot welds and the new welds. Here I'm just clamping everything into place, going over all my seams, making sure everything's perfectly where I want it. I had to put some relief cuts into the new rocker panel. They do not have all the body lines or molding lines that the original did, so I'm just trying to get everything made up. Here's a good tip. I always use self-drilling, self-tapping screws, essentially to hold the panel into place. Once I've got my other spot welds placed, I'll pull the screws out and fill them with weld. When using that method, always check on the back side of the piece you're drilling into. Just make sure you don't have a fuel line or a brake line or some kind of wiring or something that you don't want a screw run through. And here's the last check just to make sure the door and the rocker panel gap looks good. This from here on out it becomes permanent essentially. Here we're starting the welding process. You don't have to worry as much about warpage in this area. There's a lot of bends and the metal's pretty strong. Alright, here I take a drill bit in my drill and just drill through the new rocker panel, and not all the way through, just start to like halfway through the floor pan structure underneath, in process to start the spot welds or the plug welds. I like to keep my spot welds when doing like these style jobs roughly 2 to 3 inches apart. Here I'm pulling out those self-drilling, self-tapping screws out, since we have all the other spot welds. We don't need the screws anymore, and I'll fill those with weld. Here I'm just drilling the holes the same as we did on the top, only you're going to be going from the bottom up this time, in preparation for the spot welds on the inner rocker panel structure. Here I'm just cleaning up the welds that the cab corner will overlap. Here I'm trimming up the flange that goes over inside the door that you will have the spot welds running down the door jamb. They kind of put extra material in these, so you just gotta do a little trimming to get it perfect. And just the same as the rocker panel, it may take a couple times of trimming, lightly grinding the top edge just to get everything to mate up perfectly. And here you see me using these self-drilling, self-tapping screws to hold everything together again. Here you see me just test fitting the door, making sure the gaps look right, everything is where I want it. I'm just taking the cab corner back off and giving everything a coat of the rust transformer before we weld everything in solid. Here we're taking the 1/4-inch bit and drilling spot welds into the back of the cab corner. And again, you're just drilling through the new cab corner and halfway through the material behind it. Here we're just grinding down the welds, getting ready for some body work. Alright guys, thanks for watching part 2. Part 3 will be out and it'll be all the finish up body work. And again, thanks for watching and please subscribe.